Welcome to Conversations with Yolanda. I'm excited to be here with my guest today. We've been trying to get this scheduled for a while, so I'm excited to have him on today. And on Conversations with Yolanda, we have authors and speakers and entrepreneurs on the show. And today we have a fabulous entrepreneur, Nick. Welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy that we were finally able to coincide our schedules to get this going. So happy to be here.
Ab- Absolutely. So I want to start off with you just sharing a little bit about your background and your experience, and then we're going to jump into some questions around entrepreneurship.
Yeah, sure thing. So my name is Nick Koger. I work at Shenandoah Community Capital Fund. I'm now transitioning into more so community development and outreach. So cultivating the entrepreneurial ecosystem, meeting with entrepreneurs, learning about how we can support them. And then I also am running a technology company called BCarla. We're making an app that makes it easy to shop local in the Shenandoah Valley. So I have a lot of background in tech, entrepreneurship. I have two degrees in kind of technology related. So I have a bachelor in arts in digital media, and then I have a master's degree in digital media strategies.
Great, great, great. So Nick, when did you know that you were an entrepreneur? Is it something that you saw family members have their own business, or when you were in college, you just kind of sensed that that's something you wanted to do? How did it get started for you?
Yeah, it definitely got started watching my mom. My mom is very entrepreneurial. She's always had new ideas, new businesses that she ran on the side in addition to a day job. So after watching her for years, I remember getting started like selling small origami in elementary school or like just finding ways to make money, talk to people and be creative and express that in a creative way. So pulling a lot of resources together started at a young age for me. In college, that grew and became more prominent when I ran a consulting business building websites for people. So that was kind of my first stake in the ground of I'm an entrepreneur. I'm going to run this business. And ever since then, I caught the bug, love entrepreneurship. And I always love thinking of creative solutions to everyday problems. So that's really why I found out. Started young, but it really all came together for me during college.
Wow, that's great. I always say to people, when you're exposed to different things, whether it's entrepreneurship, traveling global,
Mm,
it just changes your mindset about what you want to do. My son
yeah.
was the same way. I started my first business when I was in my 20s. My
Mm,
son started his first business at 11,
mm,
and because he had watched different entrepreneurs in our family. And I think when we're exposed to that, that's why I
mhm.
like young children and young youth to be exposed to entrepreneurship early, so that
Yes.
they see that's an option for them. You
Right.
talked a little bit about uh, your technology experience,
Hmm.
uh, and let's talk a little bit about your app.
Yeah.
Uh, because for me, entrepreneurship is about finding solutions to problems, or,
Hmm.
or get into a space and say this thing is not working properly.
Yes.
So, how did B Carla? How did that start for you? Did you experience something that you were like, "No, we can do this better"? How did that
Yeah.
get started?
Absolutely. So we started off as a digital business card. It was before the pandemic. I went to a networking event. Of course, I did the stereotypical. I'm gonna buy a business card. So I had a stack of 50 cards in my pocket, and I found myself constantly getting frustrated during the event. I was handing out cards to people, knowing that they would lose them. I was receiving cards, knowing that I would lose them, and it just seemed like a very inaccessible way to exchange information. I'm like, at this point, we have self driving cars. Surely there's a better way to connect with each other without using this piece of paper. So
Mhm.
that's when I looked around. After the event, I looked around, did my research on, okay, what are the alternatives? And a lot of the apps that were digital business cards were very difficult to use and
Mhm.
they were costly and they were just not as user friendly as I would like it to be. So that's why I'm like, well, shoot, it's not that hard. Like, I just want a digital business card that I can utilize with that, like, and share with other people, and then be able to customize it. So that's kind of where it started, and that's where we launched. And then we saw a new pivot in terms of, okay, we're connecting peers with each other, but also how can we make it easy to shop local and connect with our business community? And that's the recent pivot that we're now realizing and recognizing that if you are wanting to shop local, it's very difficult to do that without doing a Google search or following everyone on Instagram. But then if you're a business owner and you're starting something new, it's very hard to get that community support and sell and get customers. So that's kind of where we're filling that gap.
Wow, that's awesome. And one of the things that I've seen that companies, and I've been working with different cohort groups and boot
Mhm.
camps, and people that have started their businesses and then realize that you really don't know the other pivots that you can do until you actually get started.
Yep,
What are some of the
absolutely.
things that you're seeing in the valley
Mm,
that entrepreneurs are struggling with? I know you're out in the community, you're
mhm,
engaging with entrepreneurs.
mm.
Where are you seeing the struggle for entrepreneurs in the valley?
Yeah. So a lot of struggles that I've seen, there are plenty of entrepreneurs who are just in the idea stage and they aren't aware of the resources available to them in the valley. So they're stuck. They're stuck in this cycle of, well, I know I want to be an entrepreneur and I kind of have an idea, but I don't have a structure to test to see if it's successful. So for those entrepreneurs, we send to boot camps, we get them connected in the valley to give them that structure. But then we also have entrepreneurs who have a business plan, they have an idea and they're set and they're ready to go, but they don't have funding. They have no way to get started. And a lot of times they don't really want to take out a loan and a bank loan may not be accessible to them. So then we get them connected with SACF or grants or ways to kind of get them started and move them forward. So it depends upon the entrepreneur, but a lot of times we see a lot of people stuck in the idea stage or just getting started. That's usually that initial barrier that most people face. So that's what I've seen throughout my time.
Yeah. So for your technology startup that you're working on,
Mhm.
when you first launched, did you have all the funding that you wanted and needed to get started?
Oh no, not at all. It was like launching. I consider myself a scrappy entrepreneur. So like I'll go in the street, like I'll knock on doors, I'll hand out business, like I'll do whatever is needed. But launch day for us, we pinpointed a very big problem. We needed two people to have the app at the same time for it to work, right? So seeing that the industry is oversaturated right now, there's a lot of alternatives to business cards. They have Popple and all these other tags that you can scan. So it would be very difficult for us to completely conquer the entire industry when some of the products out there in terms of digital business cards were just as good, if not better. The defining moment for me was I asked myself, is my app does my app make it easier to connect with someone else if they had like one of those NFC chips that you can scan? And the answer was no. Like they would have to download the app, make an account, and then exchange cards. So then that's why I realized, okay, it's time to pivot. And how can we build upon this and expand our reach to not only connect people, but people with their community?
Hmm. Wow. Because one of the things that I see when working with entrepreneurs over the years is that if they don't have all the money that they need, and typically you don't,
Yeah,
they don't start. They stay
right,
right there and waiting on, I don't know what, some magic to
right,
come and lay monies on the table for you to get
right.
started. And you went ahead and just kind of like got out there. Did you
Yep.
start with the BCarlas? Did you build up your downloads first, or just go introduce it to people first to get people aware of it and start
Mhm.
using this? Kind of how was that process for you?
Yeah, so my main initiative at the time was I was going to networking events. And I was saying, "Hey, I am creating this app that makes it easier for you to exchange information with your peers." So it was very practical. And fortunately, I was able to connect with a few event organizers who were hosting the networking events. So I would say, "Hey, you have a networking event, you can utilize this app." And it was very successful for those few events. But then again, the problem was the frequency of those events could have been once a quarter, right?
Yeah.
Or once every few months. So a lot of times people would use the app once and then don't use it again, or use it and delete it. So I had to find a better way to be more frequent and more personable with our consumers.
And that's when you're saying your pivot with connecting them to the businesses is how you keep them continue to be engaged with the app.
Correct. So because if you think about it, networking is a one-off activity. Like, I'm actively trying to network in my community, but I might have one opportunity a month. So the better way for me to connect with people and for them to network with each other is to completely immerse them in their community. So that could be, hey, I'm not looking to network, but I'm looking for a local event. You can download BCarla and see what's going on in your area. I'm not looking to network, but I'm looking at great deals or lunch specials. Okay, where can I go? Instead of relying on Google, which again sometimes is inaccurate, not up to date. But then furthermore, the process it takes for you to go to a website, look at the menu, call, like that could be made more accessible. So my thought pattern is, okay, let's immerse people and give them an entryway into their community and one simple one-stop shop.
Yeah, yeah. So you have your team on the back end is uploading that information, or are companies putting their information on there themselves? How's that part working?
Yep. So it's self-service. So we're building it so that if you're a user, you can download it and then you can create your account and then see what's going on. And the same goes for your business. If you're a business, you can create your account and then list your product or service within the application.
I like that. I like that. So one of the things that's really important to me is for entrepreneurs to get the training that they
Hmm.
need in order to really be able to. A lot of people think about starting a business, they just think about whatever the product or service. They don't think about the overall running of the business.
Right.
And for you, when you first understood that you were an entrepreneur and you were in college or you
Mhm.
graduated and went on to grad school, what type of training did you immerse yourself in to really prepare yourself to run the company?
Hmm. So a few things did actually help me. So I had a minor in business administration. So I did take a few classes talking about marketing and kind of give me at least a fundamental idea of how to sell things or how to market and what are some things to think about. I also did something that I highly recommend is just do research. I watched a lot of YouTube videos from credible people who are saying, hey, I am running this company. I have a lot of customers. Here's what I did. So I really immersed myself on YouTube. I also took a few classes online that really just helped support my journey as an entrepreneur. So I kind of had an informal training. I more so got my professional training when I went through SCCF Startup Shenandoah Valley program with BCarla, and that's when I really had a foundational structure that I can test to see if I'm succeeding or failing.
Hmm. Yeah, one of the things that I also see in that entrepreneur ecosystem is people, black and brown
Mhm.
communities, are struggling with the access to
Yes.
funding.
Yes.
And a lot of times when I'm sitting at the tables, I'm hearing about the funding. I'm like, why aren't they hearing about the funding? I'm hearing
Yeah.
about the funding because I'm at the right tables and I'm in the
Exactly.
right connect groups or networking groups and
Yes.
sitting on different boards. So, how has that experience been for you? And how do you see us really getting more of that information out to the Black and Brown
Mm.
communities about what is available and how they need to prepare to really access that?
Yeah. So the experience so far, it's been extremely eye-opening. We're doing a lot of work at SCCF, but there's still a ton of entrepreneurs, specifically Black and brown entrepreneurs, who do not know about us, right?
Mhm.
So up until this point, I feel like we have been servicing the same entrepreneurs or the entrepreneurs who are well connected. So that's a
Yes.
barrier that we're actively reducing now in my new role of I'm going in the communities, I'm finding people on social media and I'm talking to them and I'm meeting them in person in their place of business, talking to them and seeing what resources they need and how I can get them connected. out of all my interviews, most people said they haven't heard of us, even though we've been an organization for a very long time now, right?
Yeah.
And it's not their fault. Again, if they don't know someone that knows someone, there's no way for them to find us. So
Mhm.
a lot of my everyday is, okay, who can I find who looks like they're new business, or who has a talent that they're utilizing and they may not consider themselves a business. I was just on the phone yesterday talking with a lady who's a crafter, and she makes soaps in the form of, she makes soaps that look like animals. And I'm like, you're a business owner, even though you kind of consider that a hustle. Like, you're a
Yeah.
business owner. This is a credible business. Let's get you connected and put some structure with what you're doing. So it was very eye opening. My work right now is daily trying to find new entrepreneurs in the valley and getting them connected to their local program. So Bro Waynesboro, the BQ program,
Yeah.
what you all doing in Winchester. Like, there's so many programs available. So I'm actively in the field, going to events, doing speaking engagements to really cultivate those that are under resourced right now.
Absolutely. Because how did you hear about SCCF?
That's a great question. I think I might have, the LinkedIn algorithm gave me some content for one day, and I
Ah,
reached out. So I had a really good relationship with one of the ecosystem builders, and then I went through the S2V program, and then that's really how I got connected. But if it wasn't for the LinkedIn algorithm, I would have never heard of them.
wow. And what area are you in?
I'm in like Harrisonburg.
Harrisonburg. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So for young entrepreneurs your age,
Hmm.
what would be, or even if they're interested and just have a side hustle, one of the classes that I am creating for Shenandoah University is going to be called the gig economy, because what I
Mm,
want them to see is, even if you have a gig, this is how you can transition it to full time.
yes.
Many multimillionaires started it as a side gig or a
Yes.
part-time job and then transitioned it to full-time.
Yes.
So for young, and I want to speak to like young males
Mm.
for you, what would you say to a young man that is interested but doesn't know where to start?
Mm. Yeah. So if they're able to get connected with the local support organization, so whether it's us, SCCF, we can get you into the business boot camp class. And that gives you a lot of those foundational structure that you need to start a business. So we're looking for people like in the idea stage or really just starting out, because what that does is it really gives you the foundation so you don't make mistakes, whereas other new entrepreneurs may. So get connected with a support organization, but then also look around. What is your city doing? Your city probably has some kind of entrepreneurship sector or director of ecosystem building or economic development is a term a lot of people use. So see what your local program's doing, but then again, connect and network as well. What businesses do you admire? What businesses do you like and enjoy? Try to find a way to reach out to the owner and just connect with them and see what they're doing. You could potentially ask for mentorship. So there's a lot of opportunities. The hardest thing is just to get started, right? And then you start and you
Yeah.
grow from there.
Yeah, nothing happens until you start. I tell people
Yeah,
that all the time. If I meet with you at least 3 times and you still talking, I'm like, I'm not meeting with you anymore until you get
right,
started. Like, I need you to
right,
do this piece right here, and then we'll
right.
meet again. Because I think people don't realize once you start, you get that momentum.
Yep.
It's like, oh my God, this will work. Let me keep going. And,
Yes.
and and one of the things that you shared is with your technology app, you saw many others out there doing something similar.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't say, "Oh, I'm not going to do this because other people are doing it." What you did was you like, okay, a lot of people are doing this, but what's missing? What
Yes.
what what can I add? And I tell
Yes.
people that all the time. There's nothing new under the sun. You're going to find somebody else doing a lot of what you're wanting to do, but that doesn't
Yes.
mean you can't start. You look at like, okay, how are they doing it? What can I add that's different? How can I do it
Exactly.
differently than what they are doing? I had a
Exactly.
friend in Nashville he's a photographer. Everybody goes to their studio or go
Mm-hmm.
to the office complex for a company and take headshots for the
Mm-hmm.
corporation. He decided he took a big bus, had it renovated, and he had a
Mm.
bus studio, took it all over. He could go
Wow.
anywhere.
Yeah.
They didn't have to dedicate a space in their building. They just
Mm-hmm.
walked out and took it. And he was the first one in the natural area to do that. So he started getting a lot of business. He didn't say,
Wow.
"Oh, there's so many photographers, I'm just gonna stop doing it in the
Mm-hmm.
studio. I'm gonna do something, I'm just gonna go do something different." He said, "No, let me see what's not happening
Yes.
out in that space of photography that I can add that'll make me stand out and be different." And
Absolutely.
people need to continue to do that. And I know that's what we're, even in ecosystem building, we're really encouraging people to really think outside of what others are doing, even if you're in the same sector
Mm-hmm.
as them. What do you see that's something and that's on the horizon, especially in the tech space,
Mm-hmm.
that you feel like over the next couple of years is going to be opportunities for people to really get into that space?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I definitely see a lot more people getting involved in the tech space. There's so many opportunities. Um, but I actually believe, and this is kind of an additional purpose for what I'm doing with BCarla, I believe that there'll be a nationwide shift for us to, instead of rely on these Facebook and all these social sites, that we're going to begin to more so rely on our community, right? So oftentimes we get advertisers and we see them from someone from another state, and I believe that eventually we're going to have stronger community ties that makes shopping local more accessible, and for us to really grow together as people and no longer rely and see what someone else is doing on Instagram in 3 states, 3 states over. But I believe that's going to be a nationwide shift. But I also definitely see that the technology industry will continue to grow. I see a lot of potential for cybersecurity. I just connected one of my friends into a cybersecurity boot camp that's only a few months, and he can get like a great entry level job. So I can see the boot camp industry obviously thriving very well in terms of tech. So it's a lot of movement going on, but I believe tech is booming. Tech is the place to be. It's a great opportunity to grow and thrive and to also innovate and create.
Yes, yes. I tell students, even if your major is accounting, you better figure out the technology piece of that sector.
Yes,
Like,
yes,
what are they not doing with technology and accounting? And
yes.
and really begin to help yourself stand out among the others that are
Hmm.
in the accounting space. But it, it most companies going to have robots doing stuff. You better know how to fix the robot. Learn how to
Right,
fix the
right.
robot. My son is in the cyber data
Uh-huh.
analytics. He's in the tech
Yeah,
space as well.
awesome.
And even though he's working for a company, he's doing his side thing like
Mhm.
you and
Good.
building stuff out because he's into like investing. So he's
Mhm.
trying to really build technology platforms that makes it easier for the normal everyday person to deal with the stock market,
Awesome.
similar to the apps but he wants it even more where it will think a lot for them. And I'm like,
Oh, wow.
hurry up. I'm like, hurry up, do that. I remember when I think he was probably about 10, he woke up and he was
Mm.
like, Mom, I had a dream that people were doing their banking stuff on phones. I got so every time I think about it, I get mad. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. I should have been like, where's the engineer? Where's the technology
Yeah,
person?
yeah,
We need
yeah.
to figure out something with this. I said, so
Right.
now when he tells me so, I'm like, okay, who do we need?
Mm.
Who do we need to get this
Yeah.
done? And so when you get ideas and you feel like you got to have all the pieces, you don't. You just go connect with the other people that may
Yes.
have the pieces that
Yeah.
you want. And I think you're so right about community with really getting buying more locally. And we saw a
Mhm.
lot of that during the pandemic.
Yes.
With the supply chain, you really couldn't get stuff from other places. So you had
Yep.
to figure out who in your community has this. I mean,
Yes.
I did it with John Henry's. I'm like, where are the
Mhm.
farmers? I
Yep.
started getting my produce boxes more from them. And
Mhm.
because I was going to grocery store, there was nothing there. I'm like, who are my local farmers? Because I was used to that in Tennessee. I just needed to figure
Mm.
out who those people were or those businesses were in the valley. And
Yes.
so I think you're so right that we're going to really see more localized connecting to businesses,
Hmm.
because you can just go down the street and do that. But
Yeah.
also with entrepreneurs, if you're an entrepreneur, you're doing all of your marketing and networking online, and you're not capturing those people offline. We don't know what's going to
Yes.
happen with Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, none of
Exactly.
that. And if you're depending on them to capture and keep all of your people, you're not trying to figure out another way to get them
Yeah.
off of those platforms and onto your system, you're
Yeah.
going to miss out. I think we have to start thinking, because we were thinking email is, oh, I said, no, you better get those email addresses,
Yeah.
because that is going to be a way for you to capture those people that are your customers already, or your potential
Yes.
customers that you have brought into your database. So I think you're so right with that. What is next for you? What do you see with your company, with SCCF? Kind of, where do you
Mhm.
see yourself down the road?
Yeah. So what's next with SCCF is continue to cultivate the land, find new entrepreneurs, but also innovate. We're doing a lot of new things with entrepreneurship at SCCF. So we're launching an entrepreneurship summit that'll probably be an annual event. We're looking at introducing new programs after listening to our community of finding ways to add that structure, like you said, to people who have side hustles, but also give structure to people who don't consider themselves entrepreneurs. What are musicians and artists doing? How can we better support them?
Yeah.
So we're doing a lot of fun, exciting things at SCCF, and just really finding ways to meet the needs already existing in the Valley. And for BCarla, we plan to launch soon. So we're looking at planning to launch sometime in July. And after that launch, we're looking to really ingrain ourselves in the community, be a vendor at pop-up shops, at events, door knocking, running advertisements, just really finding ways to not only advertise, but like you said, engage with our community offline as well. So that's kind of our next steps, and we're really excited to see what the future holds for us. So yeah, that's everything from SCCF and BCarla.
That is great. One of the things you just mentioned is about the artists
Mm,
that don't consider themselves an entrepreneur. I mean,
yes.
I just worked with Shenandoah University,
Hmm.
uh, and then even with my consulting firm, I have a lot of clients that are in the entertainment industry,
Yes.
um, and young artists that are independent artists. Whether you're a painter, whether you're a singer, a songwriter, or a dancer, that you
Mm,
are an entrepreneur. And even with
yes.
the conservatory at Shenandoah University, they just created a program that's entrepreneurship and the arts. And
Mm,
so they'll leave the university with a degree that's the twofold, where if they want to
mm,
open a dance studio, they can. So that
awesome.
could be also another way to recruit those coming into SCCF, to
Hmm.
Shenandoah University's boot camp, to get those artists really, after they're finished at Shenandoah University, to really transition into something like that, to finish out their business plan and be
Mm.
ready if they're wanting to start a business. And so I think you're on to it. When is the conference?
September 12th to the 13th,
Okay.
Entrepreneurship Conference. It'll be in Stanton at the Stanton Innovation Hub.
Great. I'm on SCCF board, so I was trying to push that, kind of put a plug in for that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How can people follow you? How can people reach you if they have a business that they think
Mhm.
that BCarla is something good for them, or they're looking for a boot camp,
Mm.
or want to get involved with SCCF? How can they reach out to you?
Yeah, so they can go to SCCF's website, sccfva.org. We list a lot of our resources there. So go to our website, see what we have. Highly recommend following us on Instagram. We're very active. We post a lot about our programs, when business boot camps are coming, when's the entrepreneurship summit. And then for me personally, you can follow me on Instagram as well. I believe it's Nick Koger, NICKKOGER_. And I post a lot about what I'm doing in the Valley, how I'm supporting entrepreneurs, posting vendors I love, and then kind of what's going on with BCarla. So yeah, it's multiple ways. They can also email me if they have questions about SCCF or what kind of programs are local to them. They can email me at NICK at sccfva.org. and I'll be happy to sit, talk, chat, get coffee, whatever. I love talking to entrepreneurs, love hearing their stories, and then also love supporting them as well, whether sending them grants or different programs and opportunities that kind of give them the tool belt to succeed and thrive in the valley.
Great. Well, Nick, thank you for joining me on Conversations with Yolanda. I've enjoyed our conversation, and I'm looking forward to seeing all the great things you do within SCCF and with your side gig, your side business that you're growing, and look forward to seeing you soon. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you, Yolanda. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.